Historical trivia. Queen Victoria, who ruled the largest empire on earth for most of the 19th century, never wanted a large family. The young girl, who ascended the throne at the age of 18, did not even want to get married at first, and finally on the 15th of October 1839, she asked Prince Albert to marry her. Not because Albert didn't want her, but because as a queen she couldn't ask him to marry her. Finally, on the 10th of February 1840, they got married and had a total of 9 children, 5 girls and 4 boys. In the next few minutes, we will get to know the princes. Prince Albert Edward of Wales. He was the Queen's eldest son, who came to the throne at the age of 60 after being Prince of Wales for 59 years. Edward was born on November 9, 1841 in Buckingham Palace as heir to the throne, and although he ascended the throne as Edward, the family called him Bertie throughout his life. Unlike her sister, she did not excel in studies, but her personal charm, diplomatic flair and friendly nature stood out even in her childhood. Later, he tried to meet his parents' expectations, and his results were not bad at all. As heir to the throne, he visited North America, where he also held talks with American President Buchanan. He wanted to be a soldier, but his mother did not allow him to do so, although he was appointed a colonel. In 1861, he was sent to Germany for a military exercise, where he met the Danish Princess Alexandra, with whom they sympathized. The meeting was organized by his sister, Princess Victoria. Preparations for the marriage were already underway, when the prince was looking for a little adventure, which, however, turned out to be, so his father traveled to him sick to wash his head. Albert died 2 weeks later due to a significant deterioration in his condition, and the Queen blamed her son. Due to the death of his father, the marriage was delayed, and in the meantime he made an official tour in the Middle East. The marriage finally took place in 1863, amid some diplomatic complications. The prince had countless extramarital affairs. At least 55 people are known, and in some Parisian brothels, a separate room was reserved for him. In addition to all this, the prince had a total of 6 children from his marriage, of which an English king and a Norwegian queen emerged. After his mother's death, he became King of England under the name Edward VII, until his death on May 6, 1910. Alfred Ernest Albert, Duke of Edinburgh. The Queen's second son was born on August 6, 1844 at Windsor Castle. He also had artistic tendencies, but instead of fine arts, he learned to play the violin, and at the age of 12 he entered the Royal Navy. In 1862, the Greek people elected him king with a large majority in a referendum, but in the end he did not ascend to the throne. In 1867, he set off on a round-the-world trip with his ship, and in the meantime he also visited Australia, where a member of the royal family visited for the first time. In 1868, still in Australia, he was wounded in an assassination attempt and was nursed for weeks before they could move on, and after a few months they arrived home. The following year, he went on a world tour again, visiting Hawaii, New Zealand and Japan. In 1874, he married Grand Duchess Maria Alexandrovna, and they had a total of 6 children, one of whom was a boy, who died. Their marriage was not happy because the bride was quite haughty. In 1893, after the death of his uncle, Alfred became Duke of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, as his older brother had already renounced the ducal title. The Duke finally died on July 30, 1900, after the suicide of his only son, a year earlier. Prince Arthur William Patrick Albert. Victoria's third son, he was born on May 1, 1850 in Buckingham Palace, and faithful to his godfather, who was the Duke of Wellington. He became a soldier. First, he was educated by private teachers, then he went to a military academy, and after that he served in the British Army for 40 years, in different parts of the world. After his military service, he became Viceroy in Canada and then took up military duties again. He retired from public life in 1928, but he took a role in the army even in the Second World War. In 1879, he married Princess Louise Margaret of Prussia, and they had 3 children. According to records, she was the Queen's favorite child. Prince Leopold George Duncan Albert. The Queen's youngest son was born on April 7, 1853 in Buckingham Palace, and his birth was already helped by chloroform, which was administered by John Snow, who played a major role in defeating the cholera epidemic. The youngest son suffered from hereditary hemophilia, but it is believed that he also had epilepsy, so he had to be very careful throughout his life. However, his intellectual abilities were excellent, and, like many of his brothers, he also had artistic inclinations. In his short life, he became a patron of literature and art, and was an active Freemason. Due to his illness, he could not be a soldier, but he was given the rank of honorary colonel. It was difficult for him to find a suitable wife, and finally the Queen recommended him the German Princess Helena Friedrich, with whom he soon married. Their marriage was short but happy, in which first a girl was born, then a boy, but the prince died before his birth. As a result of an accident, he hit his head and died of a stroke the day after the fall, on March 28, 1884. If you want to see more videos, please subscribe.